Hello, Money Multipliers. Welcome back to another episode of the Money Multiplier podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Kessler, and we ask ourselves, do our dollars make sense? So in this episode today, I'm inviting on a friend, a mentor, even a mentee at one time. But as y'all always hear me say, the student has now become the teacher. So I wanted to bring in Jason Sipple here. And he's a mentor on the Money Multiplier team. So some of y'all who are clients of ours, you maybe have spoken with Jason before in the past. He's your mentor, your IBC practitioner when it comes to the infinite banking concept. But anyways, I'm excited for today's conversation. Hey, Jason, how are you doing?
Hey, Miss Hannah Kessler. I am excited to be here with you. It's been a long time coming, but we are together, and that was some pretty high praise. I don't know if the student has become the teacher yet, but I will say with the guidance and the love that you, yourself, the team, the Money Multiplier, your father, Brent, have poured into me in the last few years, we have changed thousands of lives, and we're just getting started. We got some important stuff to talk about, Hannah. So where are we going?
Yeah, no, we do. And let's talk about this first. Before we really get into it, I want to explain the story and I want you to chime in
Hmm.
about the before we met. But I remember our beginnings of our relationships. It was, I don't know, maybe it was 2 or 3 years ago. I was at the Lake of the Ozarks. So that's where I spend a lot of my summer months at, right between Kansas City, St. Louis, the Ozarks out there. And I remember Jason called me up one day and I just thought he was a random guy who popped on my calendar. And we started having conversations. And Jason said, well, hey, I really want to work with y'all. You know, I practice infinite banking within my own life. And I was doing it with another mentor. And I'll have Jason talk about this in a second. But, Jason, why I just appreciate him so much is he walks the walk. I know we know a lot of people who talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. And Jason just came in and he was so dedicated into all of this that he was shadowing me on all of my calls, working with me 8 hours a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week, just shadowing me on everything and just was a sponge and absorbing everything. And one thing I just really appreciate about you is your vibe and your energy. You're very positive. You always are looking at life with that half full mentality. And we kind of vibe on the same wavelength that I don't know if I can say this. Hopefully you won't get offended by this because I don't, but we both got like that hippie kind of mindset, right? Where I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna go touch some grass for a little bit, kind of get my mind right, get into that holistic care for myself. And that's why I appreciate you. But quickly, talk to us about your journey of where you started, implementing IBC and then also teaching it because you were working with another gentleman, Garrett Gunderson, who's a close friend and colleague of ours. And talk a little bit about that of how you got introduced to this concept.
Well, HK, your recollection is pretty spot on. There's a little bit of upgrade optimization there. But yes, the hippie thing is there a little bit. My dad's nickname is Hippie. Like that is what his golf buddies know him as. So yes, going out, grounding, seeing the sunrise, seeing the sunset, setting that circadian rhythm and being intentional, right? Like our life is, we have an amazing, I'm going to depart from it. We have an amazing woman who's my wife's great great aunt from Ecuador visiting. And now she is someone is getting glaucoma, so her field of vision is narrowing all the time. She can no longer distinguish between grays and blues and other dark colors. And you know what she told us? She says, "Well, as long as God lets me see, the more focused my vision gets, the more I'm just going to focus on what's in front of me." And I was like, oh my God, I love her. Like there is nothing, now that she can't do some of the things she used to do with her hands. She's like, I go out in the middle of the earth and I put my hands in the earth. And it's just about presence. Like she has someone that thinks long-term vision. I told her what we're doing and she thought it was incredible. She's like, people just don't think like that anymore.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, and thank you again. If you could see me, I'm blushing a little bit, right? I don't know if my lights are good enough that they're not blushing. I joke around, even though I'm old enough to be Hannah's dad. I tell her I want to be like Hannah when I grow up. I want to be like Miss Kessler and be able to bring that kind of energy, that variance, that fun, and really bring that to people. And my journey started because it came from a place of deep pain. It came from not really understanding the rules of the game I was playing. Like Einstein has a quote, you have to understand, first learn the rules of the game, and then you have to play better than everyone else. Money never made sense to me at all. Like no sense. I just heard money conversations, investment conversations, and I heard Charlie Brown's teacher. I was like, how can I get out of this conversation? How can I turn it to sports, to cars, to adventure, to girls, to whatever I could talk about other than money? The family, whatever, anything but money. And a couple of years ago, I realized that that obstacle was actually my pathway because money is not complex. If people are making it complicated, they're bamboozling you people.
Yeah.
Or they just have a really big ego and they want to sound really smart. Maybe they're trying to help, but they want to sound really important. And money is not that complicated. So my mentor is actually the first person to introduce this concept to me was Brian Reppel, right? G.A. Reppel. He has 40 wealth management offices nationally. He's an amazing guy. We met in the personal development world. And once I was at a low point in my life, I knew that I could not outwork the system. What mom and dad taught me, show up first, leave last, work hard, be humble, was a great way to be a great employee. I
Mm-hmm.
built a $25 million recruitment division in 3.5 years for an equity-backed company. And I looked around, I was making what I was 5 years previously, but giving them a lot more time. I was like, wait a minute, pump the brakes. I need to know what's going on here. And so when he handed me R. Nelson Nash's book, I read it on a Tuesday. Don't be impressed. It's only 91 pages. If you guys don't know that, it's got a lot of pictures, big font, so it's not that impressive. But then I read it again the next day. I don't know how many of you have done that. I read it the next day because I was blown away. I thought if this was true, every single American would do it. And then I called up my friend and I yelled at him, a little miffed.
Yeah.
Dude, why didn't you share it? And he said, Sip, you're not ready. And that's what Hannah and I are talking to people about, telling old stories to new people constantly, because this will change your life
Yeah.
when implemented, when owned, when you take ownership of it. Not before, not after. It's just going to work when you make it work for you. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that we got to even like turn away when we're having those one-on-one conversations. They're just not ready for this. And I say this a lot too. I mean, people call us up, they think that infinite banking is going to solve all of their needs. But if your mindset's not right, if you're budgeting, you're in the red line, you're spending more than what you're making monthly or annually. I mean, this is not going to solve all of your problems. You got to shift what you're doing right now and the mindset that you have. So
a
I
million
just
percent.
understand.
A million percent. This is a lifestyle that you are adopting. We are not selling a product. We are teaching you a process. And it's a process that it's like going to the gym, waking up early and building that habit. It's a new habit to build. And we don't talk about this a lot, and I don't think maybe not enough, but it's something that you're going to make mistakes potentially. You're
Yeah.
going to have trip ups. You're going to fall back into your own habits, and that's okay. You need the team around you that's going to do the same things, that can lead by example. And that's another reason I look up to Hannah. It's like, hey, she's been doing this a lot longer than I've known about it.
Mm.
Right. And so how do we go find those people? And that's how I'm here. Like it was because I knew that with my mentor, my original mentor, that I was only talking to a few people a week. It doesn't matter how many books I read. If you're not doing it, if you're not teaching people, how are you going to get to the next level and start asking the harder questions and learning the harder ways to solve more complicated problems for people? And
Yeah.
that's when he's like, hey, you should look into the money multiplier. And I just called your dad up, pops up, had a 45-minute conversation. He's like, you know what? I got a couple of speaking engagements. I'm flying around the country. But when I come back, call me back. And if you're interested, let's do something together. And that's where we started.
Yeah, yeah. And it all gets down to treating yourself as your number one asset. Because let's talk about this. Somebody actually called me this week and they asked me this question. They said, Hannah, I know your dad and you always talk about rule number one is pay yourself first. So we talk about three rules here.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, pay yourself first. Hannah, what do you mean when you're saying pay yourself first? So here's what I mean by that. Treat yourself as your number one asset. When you get money that comes in, because I don't care how you make your money, you can make your money actively, passively, get a check in the mail from the government, from grandma for your birthday. I do not care. You get money that comes in through the doors. And then what you do is you pay everybody else first. You pay the house people, the car people, the tax bill, charitable giving, Bobby's soccer practice, Susie's piano lessons, and you hope that there's some left over for you. We need to stop that. We need to change it where, hey, before I go and pay any of my bills, any of my debts or expenses, I'm going to pay myself first. And how we do that is I take a sliver of what I'm making. I suggest 10%. And y'all have heard me. If you guys tune into my podcast weekly, this is nothing new to you. But take a sliver of what you make. I suggest 10% and move that to the side. Move it to a separate, segregated checking or savings account. And then there, in my opinion, that should be the money that goes inside of the policy. But even if you don't practice this concept, at least pay yourself first and treat yourself as your number one asset. And then again, that's the money that should go into the policy. So pay yourself first. Rule number 2, pay yourself back, charge yourself with interest. You don't have to do that. Oh, and we're sitting here on Zoom, and I guess Zoom loved those balloons. But you don't have to do that, but you should. Play honest banker with yourself. Treat your money just how you treat the banker's money. So if I'm going to borrow from myself, I should pay myself back and charge myself interest. And then from there, it's rule number 3, recycle and recapture that money. And that's how we're incorporating the whole life policies. Whole life, these policies need to be designed specifically for high cash value, the infinite banking concept, so that we have that immediate cash value access inside of there. And then that's where the recycle and recapture aspect of it comes into play, because we're always getting that uninterrupted compounding interest. And I'll even quote Albert Einstein too. He says, compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. Those who understand it earn it, and those who don't pay it. So now that I know this game, I'm just going to play it right along with the elite and the wealthy. Because let's take it back to the basics, right? Who's the number one purchasers of whole life insurance in the world? It's commercial banks. Banks are the number one purchasers. And go fact check me on this. Go Google something called BOLI, BOLI. It stands for bank-owned life insurance. And that's where they're placing a lot of their money and their dollars into play, a lot along with like these big elite wealthy families, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Morgan Stanley's, Barclays, so we're just going to mimic and play the game right along there with them. And that's really where Nelson Nash's teachings, because everything that we know is from Nelson Nash's book, Becoming Your Own Banker. So just real quick, so that's my big PSA before we get into the topics today. But why I thought it was important for Jason to be on here is because I want to talk specifically about the financial education for kids and the role that the infinite banking concept comes into play. Because, I don't have children. Right. I joke all the time that I got my 2 kitty cats. If I could leave my death benefit to my 2 kitty cats, I would, but I don't really have children. Right. And so Jason's got children. And so I thought it would be a good perspective to bring him into this conversation, because I can talk from that juvenile perspective, being 24, almost 25 years old, where Jason can come in from a perspective of having children, that he can kind of comment on this as well. So Jason, so you have Connor, and then correct me if I'm wrong, you have another child as well, right?
We have 2 boys. So thank you for asking. We have Diego, who's almost 22.
Mhm.
He's my oldest, and we got Connor, who just turned 10. So
Okay. And also y'all, so Jason's here in Florida with me. So I'm in Daytona Beach. Jason's right over there in the Orlando area. So we're not too far from each other, which, speaking of, we don't see each other enough for just being like an hour away from each other. We need to change that.
I agree with that. Other than, you trying to get me to come to Daytona, that's a whole nother thing. We had that conversation in California kayaking. So just trying again, folks. Come to the city beautiful, Hannah. It's amazing here. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
And
a
then
brewery right down the street, and I know that you like that place. So
Yeah, not far at all. Also too, for my audience, I want to tell you something that this is just totally off topic, not totally off topic, but just let my ADD speak for a second. Chris Noggle and I actually, we are in the process of writing a children's book on the infinite banking concept, and it's really going to be geared to my kiddos that are around the ages of 5 to 8. And you can actually see here, I've been speaking with, he's a client of ours. He's a illustrator and artist, and he's going to be helping me on the illustrations for this book and really crafting together that manuscript. Because I got the big idea of what I want to do and that storyline behind it. But I hope that this is going to be done by Christmas time so that if
Mm.
you want to get your children these books as a present or different things, it'll be ready. So, Jason, I didn't even fill you in on that, but that's in the
No,
works right
that's breaking news, folks. I mean, we need some kind of sound effect in this moment. That's some breaking news here. We got by Christmas. Hannah has picked a date. There is a children's book co-authored with the one and only Mr. Chris Noggle. So that's
now.
going to be awesome.
Yes, yes.
I have
So,
one. I actually have one that I've been working on, the stories I was teaching Connor in his class a couple of years ago. It's probably, I don't know how long it is, but I spent a good summer, maybe 2023 summer working on it and just haven't brought it back out as a focus this year. So we'll have that one come out some point too.
okay, keep me
We
posted
created a
on
whole world for kids and how the kids are the heroes and they're the ones learning the lessons and the things we talk about, but just breaking it down into keeping it simple. Again, if it's complicated, this is not complicated. We're teaching people to change one thing and we're helping you build good habits. What
that.
Hannah said earlier, I would say the majority of my calls these days are helping people, giving them a prescription for where they're at and having them go do the work. And then when they want to reach back out to me, they text me, they have my cell number, they can start. And not many people are reaching back out, but the ones who do, those are the ones we focus on
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they've taken the time to shift their habits, to be more productive, to break free, and not be one of the Americans saving less than 3%. Like you said, the wealthy are saving at least 10%. I talked to a guy yesterday, was saving 10%, had worked himself up to 18%, had some unfortunate life circumstances come up, but I know that guy already built that habit and he'll get back on track and he'll be joining this banking journey, right? That's what we want to
Good.
see. So
Yeah. No, good, good. Hey, and then so, all right, let's kind of start here. So, you have a belief that the quality of our life is tied to the quality of the questions that we ask for ourselves. And Jason's a very deep thinker. And so again, that's why I just admire you. But your experiences of being because you're an artist, right? I mean, you were in the medical field, being a medical illustrator, you're a healthcare recruiter, and then now you're a money mentor on the team. So how did this change? Because I mean, did you always have that deep thinking mindset to ask these quality questions?
that's a beautiful question. Thank you for that question. I think it's a curiosity. Like every night I pray with Connor, I said, thank you, God, for having Connor be kind, curious, and courageous. And that's part of what we're going to teach our kids when we're talking about what are the values that we have as a family? What are the values to be able to not give up control of our money? How do we do this generationally? Because everyone we talk to wants the same thing. They all want freedom. Everybody that's listening right now, you all want the same thing. You want freedom. And it looks different for all of us, but it's the freedoms, the freedom of time, the freedom of money, the freedom of relationships, right? There's three of the four freedoms. So it's when you ask, it's curiosity. It's curiosity and always asking why. Like, why is that like that? And when things didn't make sense with money, when you go to Schwab every year, they're like, hey, great, you put your max in your 401k. Cool. How do you feel about taking on more risk? What? Like, I don't gamble. Well, how do
Yeah.
you feel about working another 10 years? I'm like, you must be something wrong with you. You're definitely not listening to what I want. Like, I don't want to do this work thing forever. Like, I want to play. I want to do adventures. I want to have fun. Like, I love people. I want to be around people. So that what you described for me was a simple path of my favorite teacher in high school, my AP bio teacher, saying, hey, you should put art and science together. I'm like, cool, I'm playing three sports. I don't have time to think for myself. I'll do that. And then I wore that for 10 years and, became a certified medical illustrator and drew medical legal illustrations for a decade. And then I got into recruitment because I thought I was going to go be a physical therapist after I had significant spinal surgery. And the surgeon, when I asked him, like, hey, doc, I don't pain anymore. What can I do? He's like, well, Jason, you've got the back of a 60-year-old. I wouldn't suggest that you run or you lift. And I was 26. I was only 2 years older than you at that time, Hannah. And I was like, well, forget you. That's not going to be my life sentence. And this is what's about, people. You have to decide, what do you want? And it has to mean something to you. So like with that, I went out and did 5 full Ironmans because he told me I couldn't. I'm like, who are you to tell me what I can't do at 26 years old? Like, you screwed up my surgery, doc. I'm not going to sue you, but I'm definitely not going to live by what you tell me.
Mhm.
And I got into therapy staffing and helped a ton of DPTs, doctors of physical therapy, find better jobs that paid them more. So I was solving a problem for people, like over 3,000 people. Same with the division I built, right? It was solving staffing problems for special education teachers and school psychs,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
then from this, it's the same thing. My question was always, okay, I did this and I'm helping people, but at what level am I helping people? At what level am I really making a difference in this world? And that's always been something I felt I was called to do, is make a big difference. And
Mhm.
so that's when the quality of my questions became better. My vision got clearer. And now when people say, hey, we should do this together, I'm like, no, we shouldn't. I know what I'm doing. You're cool over there. Keep doing that.
Yeah.
But it's very much having clarity by having clear questions for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And for my all my business owners listening too, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a business owner, if you are that typical W-2, income earner, but all we're doing is we're just solving people's problems. That's the number one thing. If you solve other people's problems, you will get anything and everything in the world that you want by just serving the communities and lifting up and building the communities. And so specifically, if I can get to people younger, and because again, most of the people that I'm talking to, I mean, they're around the ages of 40 to
Holy
65.
cow, 40? They're younger than me. Like, Anna,
Right.
I'm 50 this year, but that's the truth. The people we're talking to have had so much pain, they're moving away from it. So they're 40s, 50s, 60s, and even 70s, even sometimes in their 80s, right? We got some dear friends who are reaching out that want our help, that we can teach them, but sometimes we can't help them, right? Because they
Yeah.
didn't ask better questions earlier.
And they don't start listening until they go through a painful situation or a painful time. And so that's why I would just love to get to these folks who are in those earlier stages of life, because and this is why I love playing that video, the backwards bicycle. Go to YouTube and look up, it's a 7.5 minute video from a YouTube channel called Smarter Every Day. And it goes through how we are always viewing life through a lens and a bias, and knowledge does not equal understanding. And so he went through this experiment of teaching his son how to ride the bicycle backwards, and his son was able to grasp it a whole lot quicker than he was, because his son's neuroplasticity in his brain was so fresh and so new that you can change that thinkings and the habits that you're in, right? So that's why we
Yes,
love
yeah.
the video.
And this is the importance of teaching kids this now, right? Like we're going back and forth between the topic of what IBC is, what the journey is. But at the end of the day, when we're teaching kids this, when we're helping them have sound money habits early on and really understand how money works, it's going to change the rest of their life. Like, this is something for me that was always like a missing piece. There's a cool kids book, go look it up. It's by Sal Silverstein. It's called The Missing Piece. And it's about this piece, this round circle that's rolling and rolling, and it's got this little missing sliver, and it keeps finding all these ones that don't fit right. But then when it finds the one that fits right, it starts rolling so fast, and it's going so fast, so much velocity, but then it starts missing everything. There's
Mm,
no more conversations, there's no more searching, there's no more looking. He's like, you know what? I don't think we're so good together.
right.
That's kind of, but that thought process of really being able to educate ourselves and to teach our kids and to give them good money habits and have it established in sound values and faith. And I mean, it just speaks to me. Like, I'm going to share my mission real quick if I could. Could I share
Yeah.
my mission? So,
Go
my mission, like, I intentionally reached out to the Money Multiplier because they had already built what I would have built as an entrepreneur in this space. Because when your knowledge isn't powerful, knowledge is powerful when it's applied. It's the application of the knowledge that makes it powerful. It is the working through the problem and creating new habits. So when you look, we give away the best education for free. We have super talented money mentors like myself who are there with multiple coaching, certifications to meet you where you're at, both mentally, both financially, and help you solve what is important to you. Where's your pain? And helping you move forward, or where's the opportunity? It doesn't have to be painful. And then the third piece is once you're approved, once you have one of these specially engineered policies in force, just active is what that means, then you're going to get implementation specialists, someone that'll hold your hand, your student driver. They might not love that. Larry Byrne might not love that, but you're going to have someone holding your hand and showing you this is how you take a loan out. This is how you add additional PUAs into it. This is how you do the little things that make this really go. So it's not an illustration. It's not numbers. It's the process.
Mhm.
And back to my mission, because I looked at who I was when I was making $180,000 a year and feeling lost financially. And I was like, okay, my mission is to inspire and educate 10 million fathers and their families to avoid financial slavery, to live their legacy, not to leave it, to live it today with our family, and
Yeah.
to make a positive impact in their community. And the deeper I dig into this, Sound Money, Nelson Nash Institute, all the stuff we learned that you've been telling me to learn since I met you, Hannah, the more truth we see. And you can't unsee it. It's like Matrix. Like once you know, you can't unknow. So
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you think about this? So specifically to children, I think a big misconception is that parents, teachers, whoever it is, grandparents, they think children are stupid. All right, just being a very straight shooter here. They think that they're stupid, but
yeah.
I think children are so smart that we do not give them enough credit for how smart they are. So when you were going in and like teaching to Connor's class about money, I mean, what is one of the angles or what is one of the biggest misconceptions that you would debunk when you're talking with them?
That's an awesome question. And I never approached it like I was debunking anything or trying to change anything. It was more, what are the simple stories that'll communicate? Like how do we take something like from Robert Kiyosaki, the zero line, which equals the rat race, right? Like that zero line, that return to the zero line where our savers, right? And I made up a saver name. So we got Sally Saver.
Okay.
Sally Saver has some discipline, right, Hannah? What are the two disciplines or the two pains in life?
The pain of discipline and the pain of regret.
And we get to pick. We get to pick. So I went in and like I made up a story. So Sally Saver, she has some discipline. She works hard, made up a job for Sally. Like Sally works at the local grocery store, but she works hard. She's a great employee and she socks her money away. She's saving up for that car and she saves over year, and her money's just grown in that bank account, in her savings account. She's earning a little bit of interest and she has discipline. And then you got Johnny Detter. Like Johnny, he's a cool guy. Like everyone likes Johnny. He's that guy. Everyone wants to hang out with Johnny. He graduates, with pretty good grades. Not great. He's a B student, but he's cool. He's a relationship builder. And his dad's successful, an entrepreneur, and he gets out and Johnny gets a job at a bank. He's going to be like an investment banker. And his dad's like, Johnny, you can't drive that car there. They're just going to laugh at you. You got to fit in. You got to look the part. So what's Johnny do? Johnny just goes out and he takes out debt and he goes below the zero line. So Sally's moving up north of that zero line. Johnny's going south of the zero line,
Yeah.
right?
Or in other words, keeping up with the Joneses.
Exactly. Keeping up with the Joneses. And so, Johnny's at this bank and then Sally's coming in. Johnny's getting trained. So he's a teller for a little bit. And then Johnny and Sally, they fall in love. It's an amazing thing because Johnny doesn't have any discipline, but Sally's got some discipline. Johnny's a people person. Sally, she just helps people. She wants to be there for people, but she'd rather be part of the group than be the person that everyone's watching in the group. That's not Johnny. Johnny's the guy that everyone wants to be around. And so over time, they figure out that they're playing a game they can't win. And so they start being creators together. They start a business together. and they start moving away from that zero line. Because what happens when Sally drains her account to buy a car? She goes back to the zero line. Johnny pays his way back up to the zero line. Together, they become wealth creators. And so when I walked back, I told that story and drew the picture on the board for Connor's class. And I came back in the next time when I knew it landed is when I walked in the room and they're like, Mr. Sipple, are we going to talk about Johnny and Sally and how they became wealth creators together? And
Yes.
and you teach your kids, how can we create value by solving problems? It didn't matter what Johnny and Sally were doing for other people. They were solving problems, whether it was a service or a product, they were helping people.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. How can we help our communities?
Yeah, yeah. Hey, in storytelling, this is what I'm really picking up. Chris Nagel talks about this all the time, but when you can really communicate the message in the form of a story, the kids pick it up. No matter if you are a child or preteen, teenager, adult, in your retirement years, I think when you can really express it through a story instead of just fact telling, people will get it a lot quicker and really move mountains with it. I don't know. Would you agree?
100%. I picked up every time you say something I think is like, I adopt what you, your dad, Chris, what just, I listen for the stories. I listen for the words. I listen for the things that land and then figure out how can I say that differently?
Mm-hmm.
How can I say that same thing? And most of my calls, like probably in 60% of my calls, I'm sharing what I just heard in the call before or a call a week ago. Or
Yeah.
like, hey, this person came in with this, this thing that they're trying to solve because it's relatable. Like
Yeah.
we're all like if everyone's listening, we're all going through the same thing.
Yeah.
Everybody. Everybody, unless you live in a city and use public transit, you're gonna buy a car at some point. Everyone's wants to go on vacation. Some of us have cats, but some of us have kids. So we're paying for somebody else's care,
Yeah.
right? Like we're all going through the same experience. Our human experience is the same.
Yeah.
Right. So how do we tell the stories in a way where it's relatable and it makes it accessible for people?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And you are married, Patty's here. First of
oh yeah,
all,
she's my much better half. She's amazing. So,
she is awesome. She's such a sweetheart. Okay, what if I have actually I have it. Hold on, look at this. Look at this. Um, Patty came up to me one day and she says, "Hey, I forgot where she got this from. I think she was playing at a arcade or something. Is that what it was?"
I
Uh,
believe so. I'm not even sure. It was in my house one day and Patty's like, I'm giving this to Hannah. I'm like, cool, baby. That's nice. That's awesome, Mia Moore.
because because I have my Bronco, love my Bronco, and you know how like in the Jeep Wrangler world, they'll all go I don't know if you want to call it ducking or whatever, but then she says, "This is money multiplier colors. Hannah needs this." So I still have this and I love it. It's on my desk.
That's
But
awesome.
with you and your family, I talk a lot about how it's important to bring the message of talking about money, not stop making it such a taboo subject. How
Mm.
are you having those conversations with Patty and the boys within your family right now? Can you walk us through
What?
that?
Yeah, what an amazing question. So I have a friend, a mentor, another mentor who Jeremy Jeremy Alexander Newsom, right? Awesome guy. I'm going to do an event with him in a couple of weeks. He helps people learn how to do day trading, and he's just a brilliant, brilliant man. And he's the one. He wrote a book called "Money Does Grow on Trees." So there's a paradigm shift for you, right? And one of the things we talked about a few years ago um, was, well, hey, money can't be, and he didn't say it like this, but this is how I took it. Money can't be the weird uncle that no one wants to talk about. Money can't be over there. Like if you want money in your family, you got to invite money in. You have to be able to say, I love money and money loves me. Say it with me, Hannah.
I
I
love
love
money
money and
and money
money
loves
loves
me.
me, right? It makes you feel good. It makes you smile.
Yeah.
So Patty and I religiously for the last almost 2.5 years now, have had a money meeting every Tuesday at 9 a.m. You cannot get on my calendar at 9 a.m. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much you're trying to do or how big your banks you're going to build is,
Or if
or if
you're
you're
the president of the United
I
States.
don't care. I am having a meeting with Patty at 9 a.m. so we can talk about money.
Yeah.
So we can have a conversation in our family about money. So we can get real with where we're at. So we can really weigh in. And I bring Connor asks me all the time, Dad, how much have you made this month? Dad, how many people have you helped? Right? Like both questions. And I tell him, and he tells me sometimes, that's it? That's all you're doing? And sometimes like, wow, that's amazing. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's being an entrepreneur. Like sometimes, you just keep going to serve. So I have those conversations with Connor. Like we use one of our policies, one of our banking systems is Connor's, right? And
Mhm.
so we used his. I showed him like, hey, we're going to use this to pay for our ski trip. Like one of the things we want to do as a family is go skiing every year. I brought him skiing in Utah in 2020 to Salt Lake. That was the first time there. It was like incredible. First time anyone in my family, Diego, Patty, Connor, had ever seen snow.
Oh,
We
cool.
didn't go the next year. We went slushing in North Carolina, like East Coast skiing, right? I grew up in New Jersey when did a lot of slushing in the Poconos. And they're like, what is this? I'm like, oh, this is how I grew up skiing. It's too warm, it's fast, it's icy. Like, oh, we
Yeah.
don't like this, Dad. And last year we used Connor's policy to go back to Salt Lake. And so I showed him, hey, put it on a credit card, 2% we earned on it, cash back, right? Took
Hmm.
the loan out, paid the credit card off instantly, and within a month paid back the loan.
Yeah.
And so Connor talks about with his friends, hey, I use my banking policy, my bank, to go skiing with my family. And you
Yeah.
start just, it's talking about money. My whole point is you have to talk about it. You have to tell your kids, like Hannah said, kids get it. And if you have a lot of stress in your house around money, it
Yeah.
was one of my biggest obstacles. I saw mom and dad fighting because my dad was a water well driller and he would go drill, like that was our Sipple's well drilling. He would go drill a well for someone so they'd have water. And then I'd hear them fighting because the person wasn't paying. I'm like, wait, what? You did your thing. They have water and they're not paying. And
Yeah.
that made me never want to be an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
Right. So that was a story that I was telling myself that wasn't true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And
And so that's part of it too, is like, what are your money stories? And are
yeah.
they true?
Yeah. And it's important too, because what I'm hearing is that you're creating an environment that it's okay to talk about this stuff. And I'll just be very real. I mean, I grew up, I was a difficult teenager, and I just didn't feel
No.
comfortable coming to mom and dad talking about boy problems and partying and going through the stuff that typical teenage kids do. And so I think it is important to create an environment where you don't rag on your children. You're creating an environment where it's good to have these honest conversations, no matter if it is money or if it is your spiritual being or health or sex education and different things. And I think it's important that you create that environment. So again, Jason, I can say it all day long, but I just applaud you. I think Connor's going to go on and do big, big things along with Diego.
It's gonna be awesome. Diego's about to be a Marine, so Diego's gonna do some hard work here in Paris Island shortly. So that's gonna be exciting. So and I
Yes.
appreciate you saying that. And we'll see. We'll learn more about this, Hannah, as we go. But it's finding the who's in our world, right? Like you and Chris and your dad, you guys are building massive relationships, and I'm just success leaves clues. Tony Robbins says it all the time. So that's one of the things I'm modeling. Like, go build more relationships, go build it with new people. And so we'll have someone in one of our founding fathers webinars here in September that's going to come in and talk about how that we create a system
Mhm.
for our kids. And the system's pretty, I'm just going to give you a little preview, but the system's awesome. I learned about this from a mastermind I'm in right now, and I was like, holy cow, I want every family to be able to incorporate because, again, based on family values, the stories that we're telling each other. It's called dinner table. So it's around the dinner table. So we're talking about it, but it's how you teach your kids how to be a value creator. So, Hannah, imagine if you and I had this system growing up. Now, I
Mm.
know you get loans from the bank of mom and dad. I know it gives you the discount rate of 10%, right?
No,
Which I
no,
think
14%.
14% now, it's went up. When I first learned about it, that like I tell people that all the time. When I hear people like giving their family things for free, I'm
Yeah.
like, you're not doing them any good. You're having them put their hand out. We want people to be value creators. And so it's Scott Donnell and his partner Travis Adams have found this company called Dinner Table, and they're going to come on. They're going to talk on our founding fathers about how value creation is created in the home, and what they teach is this economy, this home economy, where you have expectations, where you have your kids doing the things that you just want them to do. Like whatever it is for you, making your bed, taking the garbage out, walking the dog, whatever your expectations. And then you have earn gigs where they can earn either brain gigs, so they can read a book and give you a report. They can do affirmations. They can go learn about something new. Or they can do like action gigs where they can go pull weeds or do things to earn money, right? And then they have the cool part where it really, really teaches kids about money is they have expenses. So now when they go to their kid's birthday party, they're the ones paying for it from their earnings. They
Okay.
get a cavity, they're paying for it.
Yeah.
Like Connor just got his first pair of Jordans because he's getting cool now. He's gonna be in fifth grade. But the Jordans I was wearing back in the 80s, but they're tie-dye, they're super cool looking. He picked them out on his own. But I was like, son, I'll give you 70 bucks for your shoes, but I ain't paying $154 for a pair of Jordans that you're gonna grow out of in 6 months. Like you're growing
Yeah.
like a weed.
Yeah.
And so he paid the other $85, the other $84, right? And then when he gets paid, the money goes into a save bucket, what the wealthiest are doing, the 10%. It goes into a spend bucket, and then it goes into a share bucket, a giving bucket. And that's
Mhm.
just like a super high level of it. But the whole point being is let's not have our kids with our hands out. How do we have them? Imagine, Hannah, if you go to your refrigerator when you're little, like, man, I want to go do this trip. I want to do this. How can I make some money? What can I do around the house? It'll start changing how kids look at earning money. They're trading time for money, but they're creating value, which gives them value in return.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, because let's talk about this too. I mean, I want you to get in. I'll get into that here in a second. But the biggest thing too is that yeah, stop giving away your stuff for free. Like even this coming up weekend, and I might show some age on when this recording was taken, but who in the hell cares? But we got our upcoming 2-day advanced IBC training that's happening this Friday and Saturday. And we're actually charging $47 for policy holders, and we're charging $67 for non-policy holders. And people may come up to us and say, well, why are you guys charging? That's stupid. I don't want to be paying that money to
Mm-mm.
come in and learn this stuff. But if you don't create a value to it and somebody's not investing money and time into it, they're not going to fully captivate what we're preaching or the education that's there. And what really, really kind of ticks me off, and I've been kind of ranting to my mother about this here this week, but sometimes your friends and your family members, you would think that they would be the biggest supporters of you. I mean, Jason, you being an artist, have you gotten some of your friends and family come up to you and say, Jason, I really like that Yoda painting right there behind you, but hey, can I get this for free? I'm your friend and your family. I should get this for free because we have that close personal relationship, where they should be the biggest ones who are supporting you. They should be the ones who are paying you top dollar for your service or your time, because they should be there supporting you. So stop giving away your stuff for free, because people are not going to
Mm.
value that stuff because they're not investing money and time into it. And it can be time, but most of the time when people start to listen up is when they are putting money behind it, right? Money is sometimes that most valuable resource. And I know I might piss some people off when I say this, because I even had that same thought process when I was younger, when my dad would always say, Hannah, money is not everything, but it's pretty close up there next to oxygen. And at first I thought he was just an arrogant a-hole by saying that, but as I get older and older, I get what he's saying, because money really does buy us that time freedom back to ourselves. So I agree. Stop giving yourself away for
I
free.
mean, Hannah, what you're saying is you want people to put skin in the game. I
Yeah.
agree. Like if someone tells me, I mean, I'd love the listeners to comment on this, to comment, to reach out to us, to tell us how you feel about this particular subject. If someone tells me, yeah, I'm a coach, or hey, yeah, I do this kind of healing, I'll do a free session with you. I'm like, I don't want it.
Yeah.
I don't want it. Like, I love you. You're amazing. Thank you for offering. But, I'm going to put skin in the game when I want to do something. And
Yes.
it's the same thing. Like here's a quick example. I had a friend, 2023, really good guy, asked me, played hockey in college, so he's pretty athletic, a couple years younger than me, and he's like, "Hey, Sip, you think I could do an Ironman?" I'm like, "Sure you can, of course." "Well, how do I do an Ironman?" He's like, "I can't swim." I'm like, "Dude, I know, I've surfed with you. You really can't swim." And he's like, "I don't have a bike." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Just pick a race and sign up." And they're like 800 and some dollars these days. Like it's gotten pretty expensive to do an Ironman, right? So he's like, all right. He's like, so he picked Florida. This is probably early spring and Florida's in the fall. And he learned by putting skin in the game. He learned all the steps. He had to go find a coach to teach him how to swim. Like he came, and this is a true story. He came and spent a weekend here because the dude's telling me, my friend David's telling me, like, yeah, Sip, I'm training. I'm like, dude, you ain't training, you're exercising. And so I brought him up here and acted all tough one weekend and put a hurt on him, took him out for a long bike ride. By the time we got done, he had like people with their kids in the back of their bike passing him because he was so tired. And we ran and we went and swam, and like he couldn't swim 25 yards and back. So he could swim like 40 yards without standing up. And the dude went and swam 2.4 miles. So what is limiting you to keep you from doing the thing? It's not putting skin in the game. It's not having belief. I don't care how much money you make, how much money that you could put into your banking system. It's like Henry Ford said, you either believe you can or you believe you can't. In either way, you're right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So it's that skin in the game. We talk a lot. I'm going to go here. Maybe I shouldn't go here. But when I hear us talking about, hey, it's 10 times your age, only if that's solving your problem.
Yeah.
Only if that's solving your problem. If that's not, if you come in with a $40,000 of debt you want to recycle and recapture and you're 30 years old, you know how long $3,600 a year, $300 a month, 10 times your age is going to take you to recapture $40,000? Just do the math,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? This isn't anything for free, right?
Yeah.
So
I
how to
agree.
capitalize, you got to think long term.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Hey, too, and I want to give some suggestions and advice to like my mamas and my daddies who are listening here on this call too. I actually have like a mother and how she's teaching her son about banking and being your own banker and the infinite banking concept is that her son has a policy now given, okay, you got to be 18 years old in order to own a policy. And so people ask me, well, hey, can I be the custodian of these policies for my children, or AKA the policy owner? Yes,
Hmm.
you can. You can own the policy. The owner has 100% control and responsibility of the policy. And then it's just that death benefit or that insured person is your child. So she owns policies, and shout out Miss Denise if you're listening here. I'm using you, but she owns policies on her children, and one of her sons, he loves to play video games, and so she is teaching him how to finance and buy his video games through his policies. Okay, let's go down to your privatized bank, i.e. your policy. Let's pull out a loan. It's going to hit your savings account. And then from there, we're going to walk into GameStop. Let's go buy the video game. And then now we're going to pay ourselves back. Maybe I send back $10 a week or $20 a month. I don't care what it is. You are in control now. You're your own banker. You have that freedom to make all these terms for your loan. But she's doing it just with very simplistic things like video games or the Xbox machine, the PlayStation machine, or maybe it's summer camp that your kids want to go to. And
Are you calling the gaming systems machines?
I don't know, is that what you call them? I'm not a gamer. I don't know.
That was rad. Denise, shout out to you. That is amazing. But Hannah's saying like it's again going back to the conversations. Like don't make money weird around the house. Invite money in. Have money conversations. Ask kids what do they think about money. I know as a parent, my rules come up sometimes when I hear Connor like saying, "Oh, my dad made this much money." I'm like, "Ah, I don't know if that's socially awkward, right?" But I'm just like, let it go.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything. No one's gonna remember. He's not hurting anybody. Let
Yeah.
that little man be. He's like, Dad, we need to go buy the most expensive stuff. And I'm like, maybe that's not the best choice, right? But I don't want to limit him and put rules and put my things I grew up with and the stories that we hear on someone else. Like,
Yeah.
don't put your rules on your kids. Like, really be open to hearing what they think about money. Share your stories with them. Create it in your family values. Like, what's it mean to be a Kessler? Like, the Kesslers aren't giving away money for free, folks.
No.
Like Brent's charging Hannah 14% on loans, but they're keeping all that money in the family. And Hannah's smart enough. Hannah gets us enough that she knows someday dad's going to graduate.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully a long time from now, but one day all that money is coming back to her family.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about with multi-generational wealth. How can you have the big vision that you're tying your banking system? Hannah, this week's been the week of talking to dads with a lot of kids. I
Okay.
talked to, and their names are John. I talked to a John with, how many kids this guy had on Monday? How many kids?
Oh, the heck,
He said
six.
a bunch. What's his definition of a bunch?
Is it six?
Close. You're about halfway there. So maybe multiply that by,
Well,
there you go.
does he have a bunch of baby mamas or?
Nope. Nope.
Okay.
John with 12 kids, right?
Okay.
Not Mormon, not Catholic either, just regular John, right? So John had 12 kids. He's building a system, and this is part of our journey. So some of the things I'm going to say here, I don't know all of the solutions yet
Mhm.
because it's a journey.
Yeah.
We don't know everything, but we're going to go build and find and find the solutions for our people. So I'm talking to John. John's working with someone that's setting up a trust for his family. And all of John's kids have to read Becoming Your Own Banker. They have to come with a business plan before they can be a beneficiary in his trust. Because he's got
Wow.
4 minors and everyone else, is already an independent.
Yeah.
And so John has that vision of what it looks like long term. Now, John started with IUL, so there's some teaching, there's some education, there's some who do you want to be in control that we talked about. But then today I talked to another John. Hannah, how many kids do you think this John had?
8.
10.
10? Oh my God.
10.
Seeing me
10.
coming over here, I don't even know if I want children in this lifetime. And maybe that mindset will change when I find my partner and different things. But I'm just like, I could never.
So he has 10. I mean, you're not even playing zone anymore. I don't know what kind of defense when you got 10 and 12 kids, but
Yeah.
same kind of conversation. It's like, look, I don't have all the solutions yet as someone who wants to educate fathers to free them. Right? I just look, and when we're solving other people's problems, look who you were a couple of years ago. Look what shifted for you and how did that journey impact you and what questions did you ask yourself, back to the questions that helped you change that, and what action did you take? How did you apply it? And that's the story that we're going to bring to people. We're going to help them build that family office. We're going to help them work like the banks do.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to educate kids. You guys are going to write a book. I'll write a book. I'll bring in other partners. We'll bring in other partners. It's really building a community because heck, we ain't finding 10 million people to create sound money by Hannah, myself, and Chris, and Brent, and Devin, and Craig, and I don't want to name everyone because I'll forget people, Jonah, Jeremiah, like everyone in our circle, Joe, that is growing and growing and growing. One day we're going to look around and be like, who are all these people? Wow, how cool is this?
Yeah.
Like that's where this is all heading. And
Yeah.
it's about building a community. How can we build like-minded people with similar values, with similar faith, right? Whatever the faith is, just believing something bigger than us. We
Mm-hmm.
talked about paying yourself first. How about loving yourself first?
Ooh, I like it.
How about loving yourself first? This came from
You
someone
got
yesterday.
you
Right?
got
How
some
about
good one-liners.
I to get them from you? I keep thinking Hannah's so cool. Like the things she says, she got a little bit of twang, a little bit of twang when she's talking to us. And it's very so it's loving yourself first. It's just like the first 2 commandments, right? I had a practical preacher, first one in my life that I can actually understand. I am Catholic. I do go to church once in a while. I should go a little bit more. But when I go and this one guy speaks to us, I'm like, man, that guy got it. He tells people, he's like, you guys are all a bunch of mess ups. Like he'll bring his sermon home. And the one when he did on the first 2 commandments was like, hey, 1, we love God with all of our heart, our mind, and our soul.
Yeah.
2, we love thy neighbor like thyself.
Mm.
So do the 1, 2, 3. 1's God, 2 is you, 3 is your neighbor. Stop paying your neighbor first, people. You got
Yeah.
it backwards. You got to pay yourself first. You got to love yourself first. You got to take care of yourself. It's the oxygen mask on the plane. It comes down, you put it on yourself before you help your kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, don't teach your kids financial education if you're not practicing it yourself.
Yeah. You think you're just a big hypocrite.
Exactly. I wanted you to say it, not me.
And too, like for my kids who are my ages, right? Maybe that 17 to 22-year-old ranges, hey, how can I teach them how to use their policy to pay their college rent or their books or their first car purchase and different things too. I mean, their down payment on their first house or their wedding that they got to finance. Because let's talk about it, y'all. Weddings are effing expensive. So there's just so many things. It doesn't matter what it is that we're buying in life. We're now turning every liability into an asset, every depreciating asset into an appreciating asset just by adding the one additional step of running the money through the policy first. So, Jason, I know we've been kind of talking here a lot, but here's my last question for you because I think this is very, very powerful. Starting your day with intention and a good mindset. Jason, I know you have really helped me out here. Can you tell us in the community, what do you do at the start of every day? You are an early bird, you get up before the sun comes up. What is your morning routine that you're doing for yourself?
So, Hannah, that's an awesome question. Such a powerful question because having now I'm gonna offer something that I don't know if everyone thinks about, but if you are not getting prepared the night before, if you're not preparing for your next day, you're preparing to fail.
Yeah.
The days that I get stuff done, like if I'm going on a bike ride, I have already charged my lights, so I can see where I'm riding. I've already put air in the tires. I've already put water in the bottles. I've already put my clothes out next to the bed, so I'm not like fumbling around, kicking stuff, waking Patty up at 4:30 in the morning or 4:15 in the morning when I'm getting up and doing this. You prepare the night before, so it starts there. And then routines, for me, it's working out first. And then I'll set intention. Then I'll read something. I like to read my Daily Dad from Ryan Holiday. Sends it at 6 a.m. every day. So I read that. I kind of anchor into his stoic philosophy and bringing something good forth. I think about gratitude. I have a list on my phone that I say, where do you see either God's hand in something or what was amazing about your day? And I have a little list. And if I'm having a bad day, I'll go back to my God moments, right? Like I have glass lizard drops tail on 626. That was pretty cool. I didn't know about glass lizards and losing their tails. Or, a walk with Connor on 7-2. Or it just goes through like doing running into some guys when I'm out working out for 4.5 hours that are doing a hard challenge and learning about their challenge. Just like, what are those moments where life's really happening for us and anchoring in gratitude? Because if you have gratitude, you can't have another emotion in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Like looking at all the blessings that are happening. Like I was sharing with my wife's great great aunt, right? Like getting her hands in the dirt, feeling earth, rejuvenating her energy. And my recommendation for people who are looking for a morning routine is go read Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning. I mean, it's a great, great book. He's got an updated edition, but he has an incredible story, incredible energy. I've been, able to see him speak and have him in a room and just like seeing how intentional he is with his kids. It's really, again, setting that intentionality, being grateful, having love, and knowing that you're going to have ups and downs. I am not always this positive and happy. I go into the gap. I go into dark places. I think this is never going to work. The
Yeah.
world is ending. The sky is falling. Oh my God. And then how do you shift out of it? What is
Yeah.
your thing to shift out of it? So
Yeah. No,
long
good.
answer, but that's what I would say.
No, that's good. That's good. Well, no, Jason, I appreciate you for being here. As I said, we said this offline, but I can't believe we haven't recorded before this. So I'll bring you back on. I want you to keep sharing what your journey is like and what you're doing for the community. And y'all, just reminder too, Jason's going to be there. So we got the upcoming live mastermind that's happening in Nashville, Tennessee in October. So go to themoneymultiplier.com. Underneath the resources tab, you'll find our events calendar. So you can go on there, see how you can secure spots. I mean, we're almost sold out. So I mean, time to get in the pool in order to learn how to swim. If you want to come and join like-minded people, now is your time. It's really time to go go out and start it. Or as Chris Noggle always has, he's got his watch, and on it doesn't even tell a time. It just says now, because the time is now. So Jason, how can people find you and get in contact with you?
Thank you, Hannah. And that's awesome. Be there in Nashville. I mean, Nashville's fun, folks. Just come
Yeah.
have some fun. I mean, if you like what you're hearing here, come learn from us, come be with us, come tell us about you. We want to get to know you. Come be part of the community. It's going to be wild. I'll be almost 50 that week. You know, right a couple days after that, I will be turning 50. So come celebrate with me, pre-celebrate with me, be there. You can find me on jasonsipple.com. You can find me at Iron Sipple on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube at Jason Sipple. And you can come to my Founding Fathers free webinar every Thursday. The
Yeah.
link's on the Money Multiplier site. Come learn. This week, we're going to talk about what it's like. Hannah kind of hit on this earlier with her frustration. What it's like when your family has questions about infinite banking and how do you answer them? Because if you're the leader in your family and we're talking to you, you're going to go back all fired up, ready to teach the world. And they're going to be like, you're crazy. You
Yep.
can't do that. So I want to give you some of the tools, the questions to be able to walk through those conversations. So come check that out. And
Good.
Hannah, let's do this again soon. This was really fun.
It was. Hey, and just to clarify too, Jason, Jason, Sipple, Sipple, P as in Paul, P as in Paul, LE. So Jason, thank you for your time. And y'all, if you enjoyed this, I mean, comment down below. Let us know how you are utilizing your policies within your children's lifetime, how you're using your policies. What are the struggles that you're having with your
Mm.
family as you are communicating this mindset shift of being our own bankers, of shifting where to store the money at? And I mean, we didn't even get into this, but crap, y'all, let's just talk about what happened not too long ago with the big market crash, with the markets losing almost $1.4 trillion, trillion with a T. So it's time to start waking up. I mean, you can keep doing what you're gonna do and play the game how you've been conventionally taught, or now is the time to really start making some changes, because it all lies within you. You have the power to cultivate that life that you want to live. So I'll be back next week with another episode. We're here every single Tuesday. And until next time, I'll catch everybody then. Bye, y'all.
Take care, y'all.